hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Coach Show. I am your host, Dr. Coach Danny Pueblos, and I have my good friend here, jack of all trades in the film industry, actor, writer, director, and producer, my guy, Mike Caravella. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, Danny. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on, man. For those of you who don't know, one of my previous guests, Scott Sloan, he told me about, this guy, Mike, and he's like, he'd be a great guest on the show because he has so much to offer, different experiences. And we'll get into more about that in a bit. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on, because that's what I'm all about. I'm about sharing the different backgrounds and journeys that people have gone through in the different industries and in the film industry, sports, business, you name it. And you have a very unique one, and and we'll talk more about this, but one of your pieces that has been great, achieving great success is your short film Astral Plane Drifter. So yeah, definitely, man, definitely excited to have you on. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And so we know we have a mutual friend in Scott, and Scott and I met through over the past year through the festival run. I actually met one of Scott's partners first last year in Orlando, Florida. His movie Malibu Horror Story, which is just killing across the festival.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, and I've seen it multiple times now because it seems like every festival I'm in, he's been in. So, I've come across this movie several times along the way here, and then we finally got to meet in Utah at the Canab Film Festival in May, I believe it was. And I was already familiar with his movie, and we kind of exchanged info and social media stuff before then. But then he finally got to catch up with me and see my film live at the Canab Film Festival, and we just hit it off, and it was just a cool experience. We have so many things we connected on, and we're still talking to this day. I mean, we still talk regularly, this day. We're texting and calling. I'm actually got a phone call with him tomorrow, and he's a great dude. And it's been a wild run, and he's a good dude. So glad we got connected, and this is fun.
I love it, man. So let's take me back a little bit. Take me back to I know you had mentioned that you kind of dabble in sports as well, and feel free to talk about that. But talk to me about where your journey started, with film, and kind of how it's grown to where you are today.
Yeah. So I've always been a what we now call a cinephile. I used to say film buff. Now I think the terminology that everybody likes to use now is a cinephile. I grew up in Brooklyn. It was a dangerous neighborhood. So I didn't get outdoors a lot when I was younger. So I spent a lot of time in front of the TV watching all the movies. So at a very early age, I fell in love with movies, watching old stuff on all the on the local channels. Like on Sundays, they would play Three Stooges and Abbott Costello and Universal monster movies and all of that stuff. So I really fell in love with movies at a very young age, and impacted me greatly. And especially when I got hit by a car when I was a kid too. I was 8 years old, and I got hit by a car in Brooklyn. And I was in bad shape. They actually read me my last rites. And yeah, so I was in bad shape. I was in intensive care for a long time, and I was in a full body cast. I had a compound fracture in my leg and a displaced hip, and I was in really bad shape. So I spent a lot of time indoors, immobile. So that really allowed me to create the fantasy lands in my head. Imagination was really important as a kid. So and I just fell in love with the genre then. But then, you mentioned my sport background as well. When I got healthy, my parents just thrust me right into sports. So sports became a big part of my life as well, baseball and football in particular. So I straddled between two worlds that don't necessarily go hand in hand all the time. I became a very big athlete, and pursued that greatly as a kid and a teenager, and then actually got into coaching. Coached high school football for a long time, coached high school baseball for a while too. I'm still coaching Little League baseball.
Nice.
I have two older kids, and then I have a younger one now. So I've coached all three of my kids through all of their careers as athletes. Even my son through high school, and trained him to get ready for college football, which he played. So and then also pursued acting. So from that coaching, and I'm running. When I was living in New York, I was running into Broadway to do my my theater groups and my acting classes, while I'm coaching football. So it was a weird confluence of of industries. They don't really go hand in hand, but those are the two things that I gravitated to. So that was kind of my survival job, I guess you would say. We only survival jobs that were coming up in the industry. I bartended as well, but coaching and training athletes. I've trained tons of athletes, guys in the NFL right now, big name guys in the NFL. A guy like Michael Thomas, who's one of the best receivers in the league with the New Orleans Saints. I pretty much taught him how to lift weights in high school, and
nice.
and trained a bunch of guys. So there's so that's been part of who I am, and I guess it also gave me the work ethic and the determination that I have, which is so important in this industry.
Oh, I mean,
talent is great, and you need talent, but talent's probably the last thing that you need to be successful in this industry.
Yeah.
There's so many things that go into the entertainment industry that need your attention. And you need to fine tune your instrument, whatever your talent is, whether it's directing or writing or acting. But unless you have a real work ethic and a determination to do what you want to do, not necessarily be successful, because success is a weird thing. Success is so much attributable to timing and luck in the entertainment industry. You really got it's really right place, right time kind of stuff. So there's a hand in hand kind of a thing where you gotta know what you're doing, but when you know what you're doing and you get your stuff out there, it's got to be in the right place at the right time for the right people to see it. So
yeah, there's a certain aspect of luck, and I think that's across the board. It's a great point you made too, but I think, and I tell a lot of my, because I ask people like, how did you, or the people that ask me, how did you get to where you are? How did you do this and that? And I'll tell them like, I've been active, been networking, talking to people, going on these different like platforms like LinkedIn and just networking, building relationships, but there is a form of luck, but at the same time, and I want to know your take on this. Like, you have to kind of create your own luck, right? Like, you have to be able to put yourself in certain positions to be able to have things happen to you, right? Because you can't just sit on your hands and wait for it to happen and magically appear.
No, you can't wait, and there's a component of that in the industry where people believe that they're talented, and they are. There are people that are greatly talented, but they just kind of sit back on their talent and wait for things to happen. And in my experience, some people are blessed that way and are really lucky. You hear the stories of the Johnny Depps, who was a musician, and he just went on with his friend to an audition, and his friend kind of, as a joke, told him to go into the audition, and he wound up booking Nightmare on Elm Street, and now he's one of the biggest actors in the world. But he wasn't, so those things happen, but they don't happen. But that is the anomaly. That is not the
because people see these, like, whether they're like famous actors, other celebrities, or like billionaires, right? And they think, oh, like it's that easy, but they don't realize, these are anomalies. These are like the exceptions to the norm, right? And I'm not saying that someone can achieve that, but you have to understand, like that stuff. There's like the 0.001% of the population that make it like that,
Right. So you need that. So you need to pursue and create your own pathway. So, and you can't give up so easily. Like, my story, I feel, is pretty interesting because there's been lots of starts and stops to my journey here to get to this point where I'm at now. And it didn't exactly happen in the timing that I wanted it to, but that's not the way life works. There are things that you're not in control of. And I'll get to that even a little bit more in a little bit. That you just have to keep persevering. You got to keep pushing forward. So for me, what my personal journey with acting was, I got into it at a young age. And I kind of had that idea too. I said, oh, I have a decent look and I have talent and I should just be a successful actor. And I didn't really know how to go about things. And I got like frustrated at times. So, and like I kind of went back and forth into the industry, and I was just like, oh, I'm going to chase it. Oh, things aren't going my way. I'm going to go do something else. And then you find something back into it. And then, but then as you finally just get a little older and you start to get a little bit more experience, you commit yourself to things. And so I really committed myself to it. And things were starting to progress. I wouldn't say things were happening lightning fast. I would get a couple of small roles here and there, and things were starting to move. And then, I'm married for the second time. I'm with my second wife for 20 years. My first marriage was a short marriage. I had 2 kids in a pretty rapid fashion in a marriage that you do when you're young and full of fanciful ideas, and the relationship doesn't really sustain itself. So but it turned into a really ugly divorce and custody battle. And so that took up a lot of my time, and I had to kind of pull out. And I actually won custody of my 2 older kids. So then I became full-time dad, and then you're trying to pursue an acting career and raise kids by yourself. That doesn't, it's a difficult task. And I worked very hard at it, and I had moments of success, but most of the time I had to put my focus on my kids, which I don't regret at all. I love it. My kids grew up they're both in their mid-20s now, and they're great human beings. And I don't regret that for a moment, that I took time out in my life to make sure that I did the right thing by my kids. So that was what needed to happen. And that happened. So after I finished raising my kids, I started dabbling around, not only in acting, but in writing and directing and short films. So I actually had a project in 2008, 2009. I don't remember quite. It was a spec pilot short film. We had some real good attention to it, and things were going really well, and we thought we were going to sell it. And I was meeting with big companies like Relativity Media and Lionsgate. And quite frankly, I showed it to the wrong person, and the project just got stolen right out from underneath me. They presented it as their own. They presented it as their own. The next thing I know, a very close facsimile to my script was a show on Showtime, and I reached out to Showtime, but they had plausible deniability because they just went with they went with the well, this guy presented us a script, and any likenesses or coincidental, and so I really didn't have a leg to stand on. So I kind of took it on the chin on that one, and then bouncing around for a while, trying to get things happen, small things happen, and you ebb and flow. And then as things started building, I started doing well again and started booking a couple of small roles here and there. I was diagnosed with tongue cancer. So that was in 2016. I was diagnosed. So they removed 20% of my tongue and 50 lymph nodes out of my neck, and chemo and radiation. And it was a brutal experience. Getting, first of all, trying to overcome getting part of your tongue removed. And speaking, I had to go through 2 years of speech therapy. Intensely, I did, because that's my work ethic. That's where I lean back on my sports background, my football and baseball and strength and conditioning mostly, because that's really like that work ethic that I have instilled in me, is that you just train. Yeah. So that was the mentality. So I went into my speech therapy with that football mentality, and it worked out really well for me. But, the radiation treatment in your mouth creates all sorts of complications that I still live with to this day. I only have about half the saliva that I had before all this. So like eating, breathing, speaking, these things all are an effort at this point in my life. At this point now, it's now what I call my new normal. But so I've adjusted to the differences, but there are significant differences in the way I have to approach my day and the way I handle everything. I probably sound like I speak fast right now, but compared to my old New York style of speaking, I speak really slow compared to my old New York accent that I used to.
You sound fine, man. I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So that happened, and that really put me on the shelf for about 3 years because I lost a ton of weight, and there was differences to my appearance that took a while for me to get used to and get over. And but what happened was, even like with that, even with the cancer, like I lost like the ability to grow hair on certain parts of my body, like underneath my jawline. I don't grow hair anymore, so I can't really grow a beard anymore. And on the back of my head, I can't really grow hair on the lower part of my neck anymore. So it's kind of bald, like smooth, like a baby. So because of all that, the way I am, I just said, all right, well, I kind of look like before this, I kind of look like a caricature out of The Sopranos. I'm a New York Italian. So like the short hair, clean cut kind of look. And so I was like, my bookings were always like either cop or a mafioso type of guy. But out of this, because I can't grow a full beard anymore, and I can't grow hair on the back of my neck, I grew my hair longer to kind of cover over the back of my head. And I grew a mustache and sideburns as far as I could. And I have a little soul patch to maximize all the facial hair that I can.
Yeah.
And out of that is I created a new character. I created a totally new persona for myself. So in 2019, with the help of some friends in the industry who really pushed me to get back on the horse, I threw myself back out there. And I wound up having the best year of my career in acting. It just like, it was wild how that happened. I went from just not acting at all for 3 years. And now I feel like I'm a totally different human being. I'm not quite as, I don't look the same physically. I don't speak the same. But it just created this whole new persona. I wound up booking a bunch of shows in 2019. I booked It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Superstore and this HBO Max show, Made for Love, that has since been canceled. It was on for 2 years. And I did a Lifetime movie, Killer Stepmom. So I really had a great year. And I was like, all right, things are really happening as they should be. And I'm on my way as an actor.
Sure.
I thought 2019 was really my springboard to having this great career as an actor. And then around March 2020,
nothing went on that, down that time, right?
Something happened and shut everything down.
Yeah.
So all the momentum that I just built up again was completely squashed again. So now but I never felt down about myself, because what I learned from cancer, you're not in control of anything.
Sure.
You're not in control of anything. You can do as much as you can do everything you need to put yourself in the proper position.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you're not in control of your destiny. Nothing really is. It's just, you have to prepare yourself to be in position for things. But at the end of the day, there's just a weird energy, a destiny, whatever you want to call it, that just you're not in control of. And you just have to release yourself, surrender to that, and just do the best you can with each and every day. So
and there's so much, I don't mean to cut you off here, but you made a great point. And you have this rare kind of like experience where you have a foot in these two worlds of sports and film. And I really feel like, obviously my background was in sports, and having been an athlete, having been a coach, and now a sports performance psychology professional, like there's that whole perseverance, right? And like you said, like when you got diagnosed, when you had to go through the rigorous amounts of therapy, I mean, I can't imagine what that was like. But you went back to like, basically, I mean, I don't know if you've ever sustained an injury. I'm sure you have, like playing football. I know I have when I play. I've had many, but like you have the mentality, and not just like with football, but any athlete, most athletes will have the mentality of like, all right, I'm going to like approach my injury and rehab like just like I'm getting ready for a game.
Yeah.
Right. So do you think you have that kind of same approach, and you think like sports definitely helped you kind of get through? Because I mean, there's that whole, as an athlete, right? We're taught to like persevere like right away, like especially for those sports like basketball, baseball, where you're playing multiple games in a week sometimes, but football like once a week during the season. And so like you don't have too much time to dwell on like a loss or stuff, like you said, like stuff that you can't control. And like that's one of the things I told my athletes in the past is like, there are so many things that you could have done well. You could have the best game of your life and still lose. That's just the name of the game. The other person or team might just have a little bit better game than you or match, right? And so like when you're saying all this stuff, I'm looking, I'm attributing the same. I'm comparing the two, and I'm like, yes, like that's your athletic mentality, your approach that you learn, I would imagine, right? During your time in sports.
There's no doubt about it. The sport component of my personality and my mindset is definitely fed me through all of this adversity that I've gone through. And I love that you keep mentioning the word, you keep saying perseverance, which is great, because I have a tattoo on my right shoulder that is kanji sign writing, and for perseverance. So it's Japanese Chinese sign writing kanji, and so I have perseverance tattooed on my body, and I got that during my divorce and custody trial, because I didn't know what was going to happen with that. I didn't know if I was going to trust my kids, or the court was going to take my kids away from me and never see them again. So there was all of that. So in between, so with getting hit by a car as a child and going through the divorce and custody stuff, all these things, once again, all these things that you're not in control of, these environmental things, that these things just happen in life. And cancer, you got to have a commitment to just just move on and press forward. So so perseverance is a mantra of mine, and I love you. And definitely the sport mentality, the whole, and becoming and starting because of my injury as a child.
Yeah.
Getting stronger with the training, the rehabilitation. I come from I'm a little bit older, so I come from the world of sports where, you tough through things too. We don't teach kids these things. And I certainly
that's how I grew up. I was like I think I was like one of the last generations to have that old school kind of training and upbringing like that. Yeah.
I joke around with people like my old football buddies and stuff. That's like, guys, like we joke around. It's like I probably had about 15 concussions playing football when I was a kid. And you saw stars and you stayed out in the field and you just played the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I can remember a football game where I severely sprained my ankle, and we just had the coaches just made a bucket of ice with water, and I would stick my foot in the ice bucket while I was on the sidelines, and then when it was time for the offense to go back on the field, I went back out on the field with stuff that kids would be out for a month now, and properly so. But these are the things that we were taught to tough through as kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's so funny you bring that up, because I was having a conversation with someone about the same thing about concussions. And I've seen how I witnessed a kid almost die from return to play too early in football. So that's definitely something like the ankle injuries and stuff like that. Like, you can try to tough it out and play through, but the brain is like, oh my gosh, that's something you don't want to mess with. But I remember like growing up, very and you're talking about, I'm like reminiscing right here too, and how like when we get the helmet to helmet or anything like that, we call it getting your bell rung. There's no like concussion, anything like that. The coach, like you get up all wobbly, the coach kind of put I remember coach putting like a light, he's saying follow the light, Pueblos, follow the light, and I'm like, all right, you're good. Get back out there.
Yeah. We were taught to use our helmets as a weapon when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah.
We do drills like I don't even think they do. I don't think they're allowed anymore, but we used to do drills like called Bull in the Ring, where you circle the whole team around one guy in the middle, and they call out a number, and then you just blindly go blasting into this guy. And he's got to have his head on a swivel, and you're leading with your head, getting a full head of steam, and just blowing through this guy with your helmet.
Yeah,
and, things like that, like which we did on a daily basis on our practice fields. Like they
I know over here in California, at least I'm sure it's pretty nationwide. Yeah. They banned those kind of drills, like even like there's one like it was like a machine gun or something like that. You had one guy, the whole line of people coming at you. Like, because I coached high school football for 8 years over here in Santa Ana, over at Central High School, and I remember like my first year coaching there, I had the guys doing that, and the head coach would say, "Hey, trust me, I love that drill, better than anyone, but you can't do it anymore." I'm like, shit, okay.
Yeah, I think we had names like, I think we called them either like gauntlet or shed drills and stuff like that. But we would just
gauntlet,
just have a line of guys coming, or you have to run through guys, and they would just give 2 lines of guys, and you go through the middle, and they're just kicking the crap out of you as you run through the middle of it, and those kind of things. But I have mixed emotions about them. I understand why they stopped them, but they definitely helped instill a physical and mental toughness that I feel like I carry with me still, whether consciously or subconsciously. Those things are with me, and I carry them with me now in this aspect of my life journey.
I love it. It's so I know you've gone through all that adversity. And thank you so much for sharing that, because people need to hear it. And because I can imagine. I mean, I didn't go through myself, but like I've had close family members who have like been diagnosed with cancer, or other disorders or diseases. And it can be, I'm sure everyone's different how they perceive it, but it can be very easy to kind of like give up, or to kind of like, damn, like that's it, and like just like in sports, like even though you have a couple of game skid, or you don't do so well in practice, like if you don't go into that next challenge or game in that case, or whatever adversity that life throws your way, if you don't approach it with like, hey, like I overcame that shit, I'm gonna do this now. Like I'm it's built me to the person I am today, instead of saying like, damn, well, I give up now. Like, and then because just that perception can just change in an instant, and just change the way you look at the rest of your life. Because bottom line is, like you said, you could plan, you could try to do the very best you can to control the controllables, but life has a very messed up way of throwing some wrenches at us, especially when things are going well. You're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. And then it's like have that mentality of like, all right, like when adversity does strike, when stuff happens to me, I'm going to be able to overcome it, especially because I've been through stuff and I'm
Right.
here and I'm still here and I'm still fighting, right? That's how I have to remind people of like, you're still here. Like you didn't
Right.
give up. Other people gave up. And I'm not talking down about them, but you're still here. Like you persevered. You got through what you got through. And like any challenge that comes your way, like, sometimes it might take a little bit longer to address and get through, but it's still there.
Yeah, there's a great quote that I carry close to me. I've going through my journey with the cancer. There's been several celebrities that had similar cancer to me, like Val Kilmer, most notably. Everybody knows about him, and Michael Douglas as well, famous actor. But there's a famous rock star. His name is Bruce Dickinson. He's the lead singer of a band called Iron Maiden. If anybody follows heavy metal, you know who Iron Maiden is.
Yeah.
He had the same thing as me and got down the path about the same distance as I did. I did right around borderline stage 1, stage 2 when they discovered it. So our paths were very similar. So I followed him very closely. He actually wrote a book and he talked about it. And one of the things that he said when he was trying to get himself through it was that he would look himself in the mirror and say, okay, you're not dying today. You're not dying tomorrow. You're not dying next month. You're not dying in 3 months. Get on with it, which means go live your life. You're here.
Yeah.
So just live your life to the fullest now, today, tomorrow. For the time that you're here, that's an uncontrollable. We have no idea how long we're going to be here.
Yeah.
When you're here, live life to the fullest and do everything that you want, that you hope to accomplish. And and don't waste any. I don't waste time. When I say waste time, I don't dwell in negativity. Obviously there are days where I just like to chill in my backyard and sit by the pool and just take in the sun, and that's cool. I don't consider that wasting time. That's a fulfilling moment for me when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't spend a moment dwelling in any kind of negativity. I just if there's something that I feel is a negative component to my life, I don't include it. I just move on and I transition myself into a more positive state of mind wherever that may be. And
that's great. Yeah. And like you said, we don't know when our last days are here and when that time is going to be. And, I think if COVID, this whole pandemic taught us anything, is like tomorrow was never promised, and
right.
Like one day you're over here and you're doing work and the ball is rolling, everything's going well, and then boom, like no one expected what happened to have happened. Like I remember talking to friends and even talking to like some of my students and just like, oh, it'll probably blow over, no problem. And all of a sudden it just got worse and worse. And holy crap. And then the world stopped, like literally. And, so it's like, that's why I think for me personally, I've grown more of an appreciation of like, and just kind of be more conscious about living each day and just, fully as much as possible, including like giving myself some me time or, time with my wife and my family, because you never know, all right, whether it's a pandemic or someone, like something, God forbid something happens to someone else or ourselves, right? Like you never know. And that's why like every day I wake up with like a purpose, and everyone has like a different purpose of what that's going to be and what that looks like. And like I know for me that's during the past couple of years that's helped me kind of having even more of an appreciation of that and be able to like do what I love, like whether it's in my profession, whether it's doing this, talking to fun people like yourself on here, and it definitely has more appreciation for me.
Yeah, for me too. And COVID, I didn't let COVID hold me down. In fact, you could say through COVID and what that presented in my penchant in life, and what I always like to say about myself is I make lemonade. Making lemonade is a term for me. So like the old saying, if life hands you lemons, you make lemonade.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a thing that I live by. So with the COVID stuff, it actually the way I got myself through it was to be creative, and it turned out to springboard me into what potentially is probably the most successful run of my career here. So if I could transition and segue into
absolutely
that conversation and talk about Astral Plane Drifter now at this point.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, so I live now. I'm originally from New York and I lived in LA for a long time. But right after cancer, I decided I needed a more peaceful existence. So I didn't really want to live in the city anymore and deal with all the hustle bustle of all that. I needed a more tranquil state of mind. So I visited the desert several times out by Joshua Tree. And I really fell in love with the area. So I moved out here in 2017 with my family. And living out here really changes the way you see things. You know, you just, there's a weird component to this place out here, but there's also a very meditative, tranquil component to this thing where you learn to live with less distraction, and it opens up your mind and it frees your mind to think differently. And you have definitely a lot more time for free experimental thought. And it definitely affected me that way. So living out here, and then, you know, when, like I mentioned, 2019, I had a successful run. I was commuting back and forth from the desert into LA to work. But then when COVID happened, I found myself out here a lot. And but I used that. We did a lot of outdoor activity with the COVID stuff. It was me, my wife, and at the time he was 9, he's 11 now, my son. And we just spent a lot of time together and did a lot of stuff. We didn't let COVID stop our life. We did a lot of road tripping in places where there's not a lot of population. So you know, to keep ourselves busy. But
Sure.
what happened with spending a lot of time on the road, it actually allowed me to think differently. And I found some quirky locations along the road when you're out there in the middle of nowhere. So right around November of 2020, after sitting around for, I think that was about 7 months of waiting for life to start up again, like work-wise, there was no work happening and wasn't going to happen. So I decided, what if I did, you know, I just wanted to feed my mind creatively. So I came up with an idea that I was going to create a short film out here in the desert, do something weird and experimental based off of all my loves of different types of genres of film. And I like a lot of great stuff, what everybody would consider great, but I also like a lot of weird stuff. You know, a lot of genre stuff and a lot of wacky stuff. And I'm also based very deeply in the 70s. I love 70s cinema, everything from the 70s is like my heart. So you know, I'm an older soul that way. You know, that's not my generation, but I fell in love with that, and I still am to this day. So so I just had an epiphany of an idea based off of a location that's out here in the middle of, I mean, like really out. Like I live out in the desert, but there's an area in between my house and Las Vegas, which is about 2 hours in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There's this weird old ghost town on old Route 66, which has all these weird, quirky things in the location. And I knew the area, so I went out there for a day and I spent the day in that area. And it really fed my mind about what I wanted to do. And I just came up with this idea for a movie, for a short film that is cross-genre. It's a Western sci-fi kung fu comedy. It's and it's actually even more than that. It's
Wow.
it pays homage to a lot of different things. In this 10-minute short, you can see about 37 different influences, and I'm influenced from everything from, I don't know if the people listening are familiar with like acid westerns from the 60s by people named Alejandro Jodorowsky. There's definitely some Sergio Leone spaghetti western there, but there's also stoner comedy like Cheech and Chong. There's also Wu-Tang Kung Fu, you know, from the 70s as well. These guys called the Shaw Brothers, who produced a lot of what they call Wu-Tang Kung Fu, which is the influence of Wu-Tang, the hip hop band. And action movies, sci-fi movies like Flash. There's this cheesy movie from 1980 called Flash Gordon. That's an influence. There's all these crazy influences on this thing. So, but there was nobody available at the time. It was COVID, so there was not really a lot of people to work. So I found a director of photography that I knew that I hadn't worked with in 15 years. And I found 2 actors that we knew. One I knew and one the director of photography knew. And we employed my family, my wife and my kids as my crew. So we went out and shot this short film. I wrote it in a week at the end of November. We shot it in a week in the first week of December. Me, my director of photography, 2 other actors, and my wife and kids as assistant camera and sound design and gaffers. And, you know, so we went out there, 7 people out in the middle of nowhere, and made this crazy short film. And by the end of January of 2021, it was done. I started submitting to festivals, and by February of 2021, we already won a film festival. So, so you think about from conception, November of 2020, I had an idea.
Yeah.
February of 2021, I've already won a film festival.
Wow.
Then we found ourselves on a festival circuit run for all of 2021 and even going into 2022. I was really not trying to go into 2022, but we had great success and festivals actually started asking us to appear. So we wound up being selected to 31 film festivals. We nominated 15 times, won 10 awards. And what's most impressive to me, what's the achievement for me, is that we got accepted to 8 different genres in film festivals.
Wow.
So it's in this movie, which, you know, and some of the bigger film festivals actually said to me that they didn't accept the film. Places like Sundance and all the other bigger film festivals, we actually got feedback from some of them that said, we loved your movie, but we don't know how to categorize it. we don't know how to program it.
Yeah.
So that happened. But what also happened is that we made Western festivals, comedy festivals, sci-fi, horror, midnight movie, experimental, psychedelic. So this thing crosses all genres, and we've won awards in all those genres. So we really resonated. For whatever reason, this wacky, quirky short film really resonated with audiences all over the country. We won in New York City, we won in LA, we've played in Wyoming, Florida, Utah, all over the country. Indiana, we won in Indiana in the Midwest. So this short film played in every genre, in every region of the country, and it really resonated deeply with audiences everywhere, which was really cool that it connected with so many people. People really gravitated to the character Drifter, and actually Drifter won Best Hero at a major pop convention called PopCon at the Indianapolis Convention Center. So it really read the character itself and the film really resonated tremendously with audiences, more than I ever expected. It's been great. We're now springboarding that into a feature film.
Wow. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. You know, I have to look at the schedule and see, like, are you guys planning to do more festivals or anything like coming up?
So we just wrapped up the film festival, but the short film, it's up there now, and it will be for a while, but I'm not sure if I'm leaving it up there permanently. But the short film is on YouTube right now. Okay. So if you go to if you just Google Astral Plane Drifter, you'll find I have a YouTube channel. I also, Instagram and Facebook, I'm constantly posting, promoting. If you hashtag Astral Plane Drifter, you can even at Astral Plane Drifter. I have pages for Astral Plane Drifter on Instagram and Facebook. You can find the link to the short film. It's up on YouTube, and we're really making progress on the feature film. I wrote the script. There's a feature script written. We've had tremendous connection. I've been working hard getting the film out there. So what I could say, I can't name a lot of names. What I could say right now is that we have a notable production company that won 2 Independent Spirit Awards for 2 of their different feature films that were released last year. They're on board as production company. There is another producer from a major network that was a producer and editor on a legendary cult classic animation program on Cartoon Network. He's part of the program. He's part of the project now. We have 2 name actors who, one that I just met at a convention. He was working at a convention. I was playing there, and I showed him, I introduced myself to him, and I gave him a link to the short, and he watched the short, and then I sent him the script, and he read the script, and he's like, I'm in. It's like, as soon as when you get this thing financed, I would love to be so-and-so character in the film. So we have 2 notable TV people from very big TV shows that everybody will know and film that are attached to the project. We're talking to a lot of other people. It's just been wild. We're just attaching things day and day. And we really feel like by the end of the year, we're going to be financed fully and shooting early next year. So Astral Plane Drifter, the feature film, and we have more than just one feature film planned. We have a series of films planned and merchandise and all sorts of other stuff. We really have a brand, a universe that we feel like we're tapped into, that we're creating. So
that's exciting stuff, man. And you said this feature film is the Astral Plane Drifter. So you're expanding it, or is it something different?
So no. So there is what I have planned. So like what I could say is
whatever you can say.
What I could say is that the feature script that I wrote that we're shopping right now is a prequel, kind of, sort of. A prequel in a sense is that it's not doing an origin story. It's really like just kind of like what happens like maybe 5 minutes or the day before like the short film happens.
Got it.
It's just kind of a setup for who this guy is and why he is, you know. But while we're doing that, I'm actually now writing an extended version of the short film. So so some of the people that I've been aligned with is like, so that was really like, you know, so we're doing that as well. So, and then I actually have a third part that I have in my mind as well. So I actually have a trilogy of films all in my head. One is written, one is being written right now, and the third one I have ideas for that ties the whole thing together. And so we really have a series of films that we really feel like will resonate well with audiences. We really feel like the time is right. At post-COVID, everything's been very heavy and serious. And even without the COVID, stuff that's going on in general in life, everything's been very heavy, and everything's very, and it seems like film has decided to go with more message-driven content. And I really feel like there's a market for people just having escapism fun, which I think is really missing from the market at this point.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's what this thing is. It's just absurd fun, and you just go to the movies and escape for a while and laugh and not know what you're watching, but say, you know, I don't know what the hell this is, but I dig it.
Yeah,
so that's what this thing is. So yeah, so Astral Plane Drifter. If everybody wants to go check it out, it is up on YouTube, so you can check it out there.
Awesome. Yeah, go check it out, guys. And so, like, when you're thinking about, I'm just curious. So, what got you into like that? Like, where did Astral Plane Drifter, and like, do these things just kind of like come out like randomly? Or I know you sometimes you get inspired. I know you went to Joshua Tree, all that, and went to Ghost Town.
So like when I go to the festivals, I talk about it a little bit more in detail after people see the movie.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about it a little bit more vaguely here because I want people to watch it.
No spoiler alerts. Yeah.
I want everybody to be surprised, because you will be surprised.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna go watch it right after we talk today.
There's things that just come out of nowhere for no reason, and you don't know what's happening, but you laugh anyway. So yeah. So there, what I'll say is that I was inspired to do something strange, different. So that's just kind of the way my mind works. So I have I have eclectic taste in film and in art and in music. So, and all those things fed into it. I have a very musical component to it as well. I have strong taste in certain musics and genres. So those things all were kind of coming at me. That's kind of the way my mind works. I kind of take random things and put them all in the stew and mix them up together. So, and in my writing in the past, I kind of reflects that way. It's like I present things to you that look familiar to you, but you've never seen them in this light. That's kind of what I go for. So that's the idea, is that these are all these things that you recognize from things in your past. So there's all these components that you're like, that feels familiar, and this feels familiar, but I've never seen them smashed together like this. So that's kind of my MO when I'm creating. But there's this location out here that there was different components to the location that really fed my mind onto how to put these things together. There's different things there. And when you watch the film, everything that you see in there, that's all within I want to say a 2-mile radius of each other in the middle of the desert. So it's really strange. And it's all right there, kind of in one area. So I just when I had an idea of what I wanted to write, I went out to that area and I just spent the day out there. And each different component of that location I let speak to me and fed my mind to certain genres of stuff that I wanted to include. So the mashup of genres were really fed to me by the location. And it really came as an epiphany. I had the idea, and 4 days later it was written. I literally wrote it in 4 days. And 3 weeks later we shot. And we shot for 3.5 days. And then we did post-production for about 3.5 weeks. So, and then excluding the holidays, because everybody took a week off for the holidays. And then we really finished it around mid-January. So post-production was done mid-January, submitted to film festivals. And like I mentioned earlier, we winning festivals already in February. So that's less than 3 months that we went from I had an idea to we won a film festival, which is wild. So it's like this thing had a calling and a destiny, and I'm just riding the wave. I'm having the time of my life. It's a ball. Every day is a joy, even though right now I'm in the hustling component of trying to raise money. I'm so confident that this project will be made by everything that we've put together that doesn't really bother me right now. I know raising money can be a nerve-wracking experience for a lot of people, and it has been for me in the past. But right now, it's a joy. It's exciting because I have a 100% confidence and belief in this project, and I know it's all going to come together. So it's just been a ton of fun. Every day's been fun. You know, for the last year and a half now, it's just been nonstop fun. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. And I mean, yeah, you have all the work component, you have all the, the tedious stuff that you have to deal with. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that all that fun, all the stuff, all, you reaping, the benefits, reaping, all the work you put in, and now you're gonna be able to enjoy it, right? You're able to see like what is coming out, and then like the aftermath, right? The aftermath of all the work you're putting in. And I think like I can imagine how just how great that makes you feel, right?
Yeah, it's been great. Well, it's been really great, and I have to thank everybody who's seen the movie already at the film festivals, and particularly the film festivals themselves. They've just been so welcoming and accepting, and just the joy that I get from people who watch the film and they come to me afterwards. And I'm a people person. I love to talk to everybody. I'm not so much a group person, but I love to talk to individuals one on one. And I do. I will talk to everybody for as long as they want to talk. I just love meeting new people, hearing their stories,
sure,
telling my stories. And it's been great to just be out and meet so many different people from so many different places, from so many different backgrounds, who just, who fell in love with this project and just thanked me for creating it. It's been so heartwarming for me, and just to get that, not that I need validation, but it's great to know that you've touched people and gave them some enjoyment. So that's fun for me, because I get to meet all those people and know that they're having fun. I actually met a woman at a festival who said to me, she came to me out in the lobby after the movie. She said to me, "I hate movies like yours, and you made me laugh." So
that's awesome.
So stuff like that, it's just great. And I love that. I absorb all of it. So it's been great. It's been fun to see that this thing resonates with people. I'm just eager to get more content out there for myself and for people, because it's such a great connectivity piece. People just relate to it for whatever odd reason, and get enjoyment out of it. And that's kind of what we're all here for, isn't it? Try and get and that's how I truly believe. Is try and connect with people on a one-on-one individual basis, and build your own little community, and spread joy. I mean, that's what it's really all about.
I love it, man. Leaving your legacy. Leaving your legacy, one film at a time, one interaction at a time. And I love that stuff. And this is why I like to bring people like you on, man, just to get your message out. Because you're right. There's so much negativity and so much stuff, heavy stuff going on in the world. And we need some of that laughter. We need some of that, just, that people smiling and having a good conversation, and spreading all this, whether it's through conversation, whether it's through podcasts, whether it's through films. Like, we just need to take a little break once in a while and say, hey, life doesn't have to always be that serious.
No, it doesn't need. It really doesn't need to be serious at all. If we're all, we're in a component in life where everything's become so big, and everybody needs to join tribes and pick a side and be angry on the other side. And I'm more of, I like to connect with people one-on-one, because no matter who you are, and no matter. See, I'm not very strong in political or religious beliefs. I have more spiritual energy connectivity, so I try and connect with everybody one-on-one. And if you just take the time, no matter what somebody's background is, what their political or religious affiliations are, you can always find a component of your existence where you guys are on the same track. If you take the time to talk to people and to listen, so. And that's, I've always kind of felt that way. But being on the road the past year at all these film festivals, meeting so many different people from so many different backgrounds, you really find that. You really find, no matter where you're from or what you believe in, if you really take the time to listen to somebody and have an honest conversation, you find that you're not all that different. Everybody's got the same road. Everybody's got parallel roads that they travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff, my brother. Good stuff. Yeah. So, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing a lot of good insight. I appreciate you sharing your story, So if someone wants to like get in contact with you or follow you, like what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah. So on the main one, I guess what everybody's dialed into these days, Instagram, I am the Mike Caravella. So if you at the Mike Caravella on Instagram, I also have at Astral Plane Drifter on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well, Mike Caravella on Facebook. I'm on IMDb, so if you want to check out my IMDb page, see my background, my entertainment industry background, there's a bunch of stuff on there. I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I have a goofy podcast that I do every once in a while. That I have all the episodes of my podcast. I set up a interview table out in the middle of the desert, and I have interviews every once in a while. I did that more when I was recovering from my tongue stuff, just as an exercise. Sure. So I don't do it much anymore, but every once in a while I roll out the table and go out in the middle of the sand dunes and the Joshua trees and do a goofy interview. So there's content on there. Some of my old short films are on there. Astral Plane Drifter and stuff from the festivals is up on there. So my YouTube channel, if you Google Astral Plane Drifter or Mike Caravella, you'll come across my YouTube channel. So yeah, I would just say either Google my name or the movie name. You'll find me. I'm not hard to find. And yeah, friend me, follow me. I'll friend you back. I'll follow you back. Contact me. I'd love to talk to everybody. Any questions anybody has, shoot me a DM. I'm an open vessel. I'd love to talk to everybody. And hopefully everybody goes to check out my short film and give me feedback. Let me know what you think about it. If you loved it, tell me. If you hate it, tell me. I'll listen either way. So I appreciate any kind of feedback and any kind of support we can get. And if you like it, put it out there. Tell your friends, share it, because it's coming one way or the other. We're getting out there next year. And so it'd be great if we can get the momentum ball, keep rolling down the hill here. So thank you for this time today. And thank you for everybody for listening.
There you go. Well, yeah, definitely go follow Mike, go follow Astral Plane Drifter, go give it a watch and keep track of this film. I talking with Mike here and hearing about the success that, Astral Plane Drifter has achieved. I can only imagine the success you're going to have within the next couple of years. And I can't wait to see it, man. So we'll definitely stay in touch, and I'll definitely keep following you, and you as well, all your watchers out there. So thank you again to my good friend Mike here. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you see, give us a like, tell your friends about the movie, tell your friends about the Dr. Coach Show, subscribe. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.